I never understood the whole thing about being afraid of clowns. I grew up to love them. Back when I was a kid, my parents would take me to the Barnum and Bailey shows whenever they were in town or close enough. My favorite part being when the little car would pull up and 10 to 15 clowns would pile out and start doing tricks. I wanted my son to have those same memories, but now I'm too scared to let another clown near him again after one started showing up to our house uninvited. I had taken my son to his friend from school's birthday party. There was plenty for the kids to do, including one of those huge blow-up bouncy obstacle courses. Didn't have one of those growing up. I felt pretty safe with all the parents around, so I didn't really pay too much attention to my son. I just talked with the other parents to pass time, until I looked over and saw him with the guy in the clown costume. He had my son sitting on his lap while he was blowing up balloons for some of the other kids. Not too odd, right? Maybe for some, but if that wasn't weird enough, it got even more weird when he gave my son a kiss on the cheek. I'll be damned if I let some weirdo in a clown getup groom my child, or anyone for that matter. I walked over there to grab my son and gave the guy the look. You know what I mean, the look that says I'm watching you. Then walked back over to the little corral of adults I was standing with. As we were driving home after the party, my son wouldn't stop bringing that clown guy up, telling me how much he misses him and that we should invite him over to play since the clown said he was his new best friend. It was super weird and I shut it down quickly. Stranger danger was the gist of our conversation. One day the following week, while I was cleaning the living room, there was a knock on the door. We never get visitors without prior notice, so I was wondering why someone was at our door. I wasn't even thinking about the clown, but when I checked the live camera footage on our doorbell camera, it was the freaking clown guy. He was fully dressed up like he was ready to put on a show. But at my house? Who gave that guy my address? My son surely wouldn't have known that at his age. He's only 4. I quickly shut him down, and I did it behind the comfort of my locked door. I wasn't going to open up to this creep. He asked me where my son was and if he could give him a gift. I told him to politely F off or I was going to call the police. He just stood there with the widest grin from his red lips, then set down a box and walked away. I was too afraid to open the door until I was sure he was gone. I didn't want to open the box though. I didn't trust that guy. I ended up calling the police so I could put in a report and have them take the box as evidence if anything in it was dangerous or just creepy. When the police arrived on the scene and I told them what happened, they laughed at me. But you should have seen their faces when they opened that box. I wish I could tell you what was inside that box, but I'm not allowed to until the case goes to trial and a verdict is reached. They can't find the guy. Kinda hard when all the police have is a guy wearing a clown costume and makeup. Nobody from the party even knows who he is. Just said he showed up and they didn't even think to ask. Figured he was part of the party. He could be anywhere, or anyone, for all I know. He could be watching me now. Appalachia is a beautiful place. The scenery is like no other here in Tennessee, with small towns cradled within the Appalachian Mountains. People across these parts know they've got a gift from God, and if you're from out of town, they really know how to make you feel right at home. True Southern hospitality. But just because they can make you supper and give you clean sheets and a pillow, doesn't mean you won't encounter some truly strange people. And do I have a crazy story for you? I was driving through a sketchy bit of road through the mountains while on my way to see family for the holidays. You usually have to pay attention to these back roads. If there's potholes, it probably isn't getting fixed anytime soon. I should have been paying attention, but I wasn't. I was on my phone texting when I ran over a pothole that completely blew my tire. I pulled over to the side of the road, helpless for the fact that I had no spare, and service out there was dead. My best chances were to wait for a good Samaritan to come to the rescue. After a while, your cliche backwoods redneck in some denim overalls pulled up behind me in a blue Ford, single cab pickup. Anything and anyone I could get to help would do at this point. Sadly, he didn't have a tire or a tow. Said there was nothing out here anyways. You could practically kill somebody and nobody would even know where to start looking for your corpse. The closest town was over 2 hours away, and it was getting dark fast. He offered me a night's rest at his home and a ride to the closest mechanic shop with a tow in the morning. I really had no choice at this point, so I hopped in his pickup and off we went. We arrived at a small farm. The home was very southern in style, giving me plantation owner vibes. There was a scarecrow on the second-story balcony. I asked why, and he said they had a problem with crows flying themselves into the windows. The scarecrow kept them away. Made sense. We got into the house, and I immediately could hear someone moaning in another room. He told me it was his son and that he's fine, just likes to talk to himself all the time. He was taking me to the guest bedroom. When we passed the room the screaming was coming from. I could see a young boy rocking back and forth in his chair while staring at one of those old TVs with the antennas on top. He would just rock and scream, twirling his hair into knots. It was even creepier that the TV was just playing static. I was ready for bed at that point. I'd been through and seen enough for the day. We got up to the room. He showed me the bathroom and where the light switches were in case I had to get up in the middle of the night. He offered me access to his kitchen as well. I told him thank you and that I was going to bed since the next day was going to be a long one, and we left it at that. I got up in the middle of the night for a glass of water. I figured that would be downstairs in the kitchen, so I quietly made my way down. The little boy was still in that chair, but he was asleep. That's good. I couldn't stand hearing that awful moaning if I was trying to get some rest. I made it to the fridge in the kitchen. As soon as I opened it, I was met with this awful smell and could see there were organs stacked on all the shelves. I couldn't tell if they were human or some other animals, but then I thought, why would anyone keep organs anyways? I forgot all about the water at this point. I thought about leaving and just finding my own way, but I had no idea where I was and figured I'd just have to wait until the morning and hope I don't end up on a missing poster by the end of the week. It wasn't easy falling back asleep, but I managed. And before I knew it, we were off to the closest shop in tow, as was promised. I wanted to ask about the organs in the fridge, but decided against it. I had a route pre-planned before I went knocking on doors. I thought it would be like any other day, but it turned upside down quickly. I was maybe on my 5th or 6th door of the day, no sale yet. The house I was knocking on had the nastiest looking driveway. The concrete was brown and black with weeds growing in the cracks. My experience with pressure washing and seal coating was perfect for it. I really felt this one was going to be an easy sale and secure my business some social proof with the neighborhood. I knocked on the door and I could hear a chain dragging on the other side. I thought it must be a dog, but I found it odd how there wasn't any barking. Must be well trained. I knocked again. The door barely cracked open. I heard a woman's voice. "Please, help me. He's sleeping, but I don't think there's much time. I don't know how long I've been here, but please, you've got to get me out of here. The others too." I opened the door a little more, and I was startled. There was no dog chained up. She was the one on the chained leash. It was one of those spike collars that people use to train their dog, not to walk their owners. I was baffled. I told her I'd be right back and that help was on the way. She immediately grabbed my arm and looked into my soul. "Please, don't leave me, please." I ran to my truck to grab my phone, hopped into the front seat and dialed 911. As I was on the phone with dispatch, I saw the man grab her by the leash and yank her back while slamming the door shut. My heart felt heavy, and I knew I didn't have much time. Dispatch said she had a unit on the way, but I wasn't confident they would make it. I hung up the phone and ran to the front door, banging my fist against the door. I tried turning the knob, but it was dead-bolted shut. I could hear the chained woman's screams. Loud thuds came after. He must have been hitting her. I went to the closest window and took off my shirt, wrapped it around my hand, and punched through the glass. As soon as I got inside, I was met with a blow to the head. I woke up in an ambulance later right outside. My injuries weren't dire, though the medic told me I would need a CT scan to ensure I had no internal bleeding. I asked if the woman was okay. They said she was fine and was being cared for, same as I. I had to see for myself. I made my way out of the ambulance, stepping down to the ground 1 foot at a time. I saw the woman with several police officers by her in the ambulance asking her questions. Now wasn't the best time, I guess. Then one of the cops yelled out to them from the front door of the house, "We found more!" There had been 6 others in the basement, all chained up like animals, some as young as 12 and as old as 25. The news said it was the biggest trafficking bust the county had ever seen. They threw up an image of the perpetrator. The guy who held these poor people hostage looked like your everyday guy. He didn't even have a record, no speeding tickets, helped out at his local church. He was your typical law-abiding citizen. Little did everyone know. I learned what evil looks like that day. It doesn't wear black, nor does it have horns or a pitchfork. It can be as simple as your neighbor, or the guy who always waves while he's mowing the lawn, or maybe even someone you love. And that scares me the most.